Hello, everybody. It's Phil Overson back with another episode of Conversations with Bob and Phil. I don't know, we might hear a little echo in the background, so I won't talk as much. But we are here with our last episode. This has been a great series. It's just been wonderful. And so just some quick announcements. As you know, Eastern EACE, I've transitioned and I'm no longer a member of the Eastern EACE Conference Experience Committee. I am now a member of the Eastern EACE Technology and Communication Committee. And one of my roles there is the Twitter chats. So please feel free to join me on the second Tuesday of every month. We already did our first one this week on Tuesday. So the next one is October teens. I can't even remember the exact date, but it's in October, the second Tuesday. Also, just continue to check out your Eastern EACE Pulse surveys. You'll get those emails about those and then all those different things. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. Without further ado, we're going to have Bob introduce our wonderful guest today.
No, thank you, Philip. And then if you're not, you need to get on those Twitter chats, real talk. But I have the very lucky pleasure of introducing Dr. Walter Tarver. Dr. Tarver is the Assistant Vice President of Student Transition, Access, and Retention at Stockton University. Coming from the world of career services, unapologetic Lakers and Bills and Yankees fan, and someone that I'm lucky enough to know very well and have worked with in the past. But Walter, welcome, man.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Much appreciative.
So Philip dipped out there. Philip, that's all right, man. You're trying to do your own thing. I see you. We'll just start it off real quick. I mean, now that you're transitioning to different, broader, larger roles, talk about your early involvement in Eastern EACE. How did you get involved in Eastern EACE? Who tapped you on the shoulder? What did that look like for you? I know you're a past president. What does that look like? What does that maturation look like from going from like, oh, that looks interesting to I'm going to run the show and then I'm going to expand things on a university type level?
Sure. So I accidentally got into this field, believe it or not. And I know some of you that know me closely know that story to some extent, but I was coming from business school. So my plan was, conquer the corporate world and, most B school students make as much money as you can, right? That's kind of your focus at that point in time. But as I progressed through business school, I got my values, my morals, my ethics more in alignment with what it is I thought I could see myself doing on a daily basis. And while the degree has certainly been beneficial, I decided not to take that route. During my last year in grad school, I actually had the opportunity to work in the career services office at the University of Buffalo. And it was one of 3 jobs that I had at the time. So I didn't have any affinity towards it or any of the other 2. Again, just trying to pay rent, eat, all that good stuff. But they gave me some responsibilities that really allowed me to grow. And before long, I realized that I really enjoyed this type of work and helping people in that capacity, and started to meet with my supervisors during that time to find out what's the possibility of me taking my degree and transitioning into that type of opportunity. So they helped me build my resume, started looking at job opportunities. And if you can imagine a world where, online job searching is not the end all, it was kind of during that time period where, there was no higheredjobs.com and studentaffairs.com. I actually don't even remember how I found out about the position initially, but I think one of my peers working in the office ended up forwarding my resume. And I actually thought it was for Stockton, California. So I remember him yelling across the suite, your resume is the only resume going out. And I said, where? He said, Stockton. I was like, oh, Cali, I could do Cali. So he sends it off. They call me for an interview. And my previous supervisor is on the phone and he's telling me how I can get to New Jersey. And I'm thinking, New Jersey? Why would I be going to New Jersey? So long story short, I rolled down to Southern New Jersey, interview, end up getting that position. So I think it was probably, and the dates escape me. When you get my age, dates will start to escape you a little bit. But I think it was maybe my second or third year in my role as coordinator of career and employment services at Stockton, where my supervisor decided, hey, we're going to go to this conference. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good. A conference. I like to travel. We can do this. And the first conference, and a lot of us old times remember the first conference, we consider it the legendary Seven Springs Conference out in Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. That was my first conference, and I honestly do not remember the year. I want to say 99 or 2000, but I'm sure I'm off by a year or two. And when I went to that conference and talking to my supervisor and thinking about some of the things I had experienced thus far in the field, I liked it, but I wasn't really overwhelmed by it. So my thought process was, if I don't enjoy this conference, connect with people, I'm going to transition into another career. So we get to the conference, and I know many of you have done this out there. I asked my supervisor, how do we pack for this thing? And he's like, oh, yeah, bring suits and stuff like that. So every day I'm sitting there suited up. And finally, and she probably won't remember this, but that's where I first met A.D. Alberts. And she remembers kind of seeing me looking lost. We had a reception out near a pool area, shirt and tie on. It's about 85 degrees. And she's like, brother, take off the shirt, the tie at least, right? So that was my first Eastern ACE conference. And I met some really great people. 80, one of the first people who approached me. So many good people, Terry Moore, Camille Franklin, people that are no longer heavily involved in the organization. I'm trying to think. I don't remember if I met Jake at that point. I don't think I had met Jake yet, but the conference ended up being incredible. I met people from all over the region, got some good insight into the career. So that's kind of how I got into it and got involved with Eastern ACE. In terms of getting involved, I think I signed up for, the entertainment committee. It was like my first 2 stints. Anybody who has known me know that I like to have fun. So I'm thinking, hey, I can participate and contribute on the entertainment end. And then, once you get involved in one committee with Eastern ACE, they kind of have you, right? So after that conference, the next conference goes by. So what are you going to do next year? And before you know it, you're 5-6 years in, and you're serving on these different committees. I think I did Diversity Advancement Committee, was probably one of my earlier committees, which I know is now D&I. So that was kind of my first venture into being engaged within the organization itself. In terms of ascending to the presidency, never had my eyes on that. Figured I'd just, volunteer at the committee level. But I think most people know Jennifer Barr. She set me up real nicely at the NACE conference in San Antonio. Everywhere I turned, she was there. And I'm like, what's going on with her? So she finally said she wanted to talk to me, and I had no idea what it was about. So she finally called me after the first day and said, hey, what do you think about running for president of the organization? I was like, nope, never. Nope, not unless, if you don't want the organization to exist, you might want to go in a different route. So I told her, give me, I think maybe a month or something to think about it. And my thought process to myself was, yeah, she'll forget about it. She won't come back to me and I'll be able to get out of it. But like clockwork, she calls me at my desk. Hey, it's been a month. Have you thought about it? And of course, I felt obligated. And those of you who have been involved with Eastern ACE, you know that you always feel obligated after that first time. So then I'm thinking I won't win, right? Find out I'm going against my good friend, Noah Simon. I'm like, oh, Noah will definitely beat me in an election. We tie. So I'm thinking, okay, he'll definitely win the runoff. And I ended up winning by 1 vote. Sorry to bring that up if you're on here, Noah, but hey, Bills over Jets always, man. So I ended up becoming president of Eastern ACE. And then I was like, oh boy, what am I supposed to do now? And it was one of the best learning experiences of my life. The connections with people just throughout my time in Eastern ACE, you can't even place a value on it, quite honestly. So I don't want to take up too much more time, but that's kind of how I got to the point of presidency.
I'm trying to find the mute button, and that's probably why I jumped off. And I clicked myself out. I think that was a great story. I find a lot of connections between me and you. I think I might call myself Walter IV, because I started off in career services randomly, and the whole 9 of people tapping me and all that stuff. I was getting so triggered by all these things. So Thank you for sharing that, because someone looking up to you, I'm like, wow, that's a very similar story. Can you speak upon the parallel trajectory of how your involvement in Eastern ACE assisted you with your ascension in higher ed, and vice versa? Like, serving on these committees helped me with this, and then helping, me being what I'm doing in my university helped me back in Eastern ACE. So can you talk about that relationship of getting skills in both areas and how they helped each other?
Definitely. So certainly, on the most basic level, it expands our tangible skills and experience set, right? We're either career or employment professionals, and certainly participating in all of the activities, whether it's during a conference or, during the course of the regular year, all of the knowledge that we gain for our specific day-to-day roles certainly is important, and that certainly helps you advance. But I think what I found most valuable was the intangible, right? So again, if I can just go back to my initial engagement, I didn't really have a lot of confidence in terms of what do we refer to it as, imposter syndrome into this field, right? I have an MBA. This is something totally different from what I thought would happen for me professionally. And now I'm in this world where I don't have the formal training for it, right? Even to this day, I hear people talk about, oh yeah, when I was in my master's in education program, I'm like, I don't know anything about that. Always feeling like I didn't belong. And I think Eastern ACE gave me the confidence and all of those intangible abilities, being a part of a committee, then co-chairing a committee, right? Being on different conference committees, moving from a more general committee to a conference committee, and then getting on the executive board. Those things give you more and more confidence. And a lot of the training that we do, I know some people take the training for granted when you have to show up early for the conferences and, all of the, off conference season trainings that you do. But those are the things that I think set you up to ascend up the ladder. If you look at both sides of the coin as career professionals, we're all competent. I think that we all feel that we're competent in the day-to-day at some point, right? Same thing with our recruiting professionals. But how do you differentiate yourself from everyone else? If you just take our organization, right, as a blanket, you're competing with all these people in the region, let's say, as an example. How do you differentiate yourself? We all know how to run programs. We all maybe know how to manage budgets. We all have a certain skill set that is equivalent, but it's those intangible things. Who can really lead, right? Because higher ed is looking for leaders, and Eastern ACE creates leaders. So those are kind of some of the things that I think that really helped me go to the next level. In terms of the career services to AVP situation, that's just being in the right place at the right time, quite honestly. We went through a transition at the executive leadership level in student affairs. I was one of the more veteran people within management here. And, I feel very fortunate that our new VP, after assessing the landscape, thought enough of me for me to be a part of the executive team. And if you look around, you don't find too many people that go from director of career services to an executive level in student affairs or any place else on campus. So I feel very fortunate there. But I think all of the stuff I said before that, though, again, I think prepared me for the moment when it came. And Eastern ACE, I think I've said it numerous times over the years to a lot of different people. I would not have had the career that I've had or the life that I've had, quite honestly, without Eastern ACE.
I feel like Eastern ACE should just clip that last minute there and just run that as a commercial. So on loop. Right there.
I probably said it on a video. So I probably said it at Annapolis when we were doing interviews. I think at that conference, I probably said something.
Telling you, Eastern ACE makes leaders. That's boom, face, fade out, that's it. No. So, and it's so important. So we've been doing this for almost a year, Philip. So we've had different people on, and so many people mentioned you as someone that they connected with early on, or you were a mentor, or there's a mentee type relationship, and just wanted to get your kind of feedback. What makes that good mentor, mentee, friend, colleague relationship, especially at this level? Because again, like you said, there is some level of competition. There is levels that we are trying to support our students. But so many people have come back, especially on this podcast, and said, hey, when I look back, who got me involved? Walter taught to me, or, I connected with someone early on. They introduced me to this. What's that look like for you? And why is that so important, that relationship building at all levels for you?
I think for me, believe it or not, early on in my life, I remember being in elementary school and other kids picking on kids, and I would be the one that always came to their defense. And I wasn't the biggest kid, not at that time anyways. little bit more girth nowadays, but I've always kind of had this compassion and this empathy for helping others. A lot of it is from my upbringing, but specifically as it relates to mentorship within the organization. I mean, look at the culture. I mean, think about how we all got tapped, right? So if you combine, what was intrinsic in me to the Eastern ACE culture itself, I mean, it comes with the territory. And, I'm always somebody that feels like you should pay it forward. Each one teach one. I'm a strong believer in that. The knowledge and experiences that we have, they're meant to be shared with others, right? This isn't something you keep to yourself. Yeah, we're competing, but I love a healthy competition, right? I don't want to win when you're injured and you're not at your best, right? So, it's always kind of been something that was important to me to help others. And I think it really started at an early age. And Eastern ACE, again, the culture of the organization, it breeds that. You don't find people, and I've gone to many other conferences, even some of the other regionals. In no conference that I've gone to within this field or outside has been as welcoming and as friendly and as helpful as Eastern ACE is. I mean, it really is a big family.
I'm gonna find it. I had like two screens and my mouse was somewhere else. So one of the things I thought about too was like scalability, right? Like in regards to professional development. And you did say NACE, but obviously we're not gonna do no shade to NACE, but just in general, like sometimes it's overwhelming to go to the largest thing, and then sometimes you're heavily plugged in the state thing. So how do you, for those that are young, getting into or early in professional development, what would you say would be some good advice for them to investigate involvement where they, one, don't overwhelm themselves, but also still contribute?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, get involved in committees at your home institutions. That's a great place to start. Because certainly smaller scale, there's more of a comfort level there. You're at the institution, you're familiar with the players. There's probably going to be a little bit more comfort and confidence up front with that. Start looking at your state organizations next. One of the things that I didn't mention is we used to have something called the New Jersey Association of Colleges and Employers. And my former supervisor actually got me involved in that first. And through that, there were some people in that particular organization who were also members of Eastern ACE before I really even knew what Eastern ACE was. So I think start small. And then to me, Eastern ACE has always kind of been the it for me. And I'll explain that. You mentioned other national organizations being so large. You go to those conferences or you participate in those events and you don't get the same. It's like, what the comparison is, being in a big lecture class in college where there's 500 students versus being in a class where there's 25, right? Those lectures, I remember sitting on the steps in one of my first classes when I went to Penn State my first year. That's a whole nother story. Went to Penn State my freshman year, and I would be hustling from my previous class and be sitting at the top step. What am I getting out of that course when I don't have the appropriate tools, right? I don't even have a desk space. I'm writing on my lap. I'm sitting on a step versus being able to sit in a nice desk. They know who I am. I can contribute. I can get feedback. And to me, that natural progression from small campus committee to state committee, or state organization to a regional organization, to me is a great trajectory to take. And nothing wrong with going, to the national level. Everyone has their own ambitions and goals and their comfort level, and we get different takeaways from different experiences. It just so happens for me, and my philosophy is I think Eastern ACE, the size, is the perfect type of organization where you can always really delve into the subject matter that's being discussed at the conferences, but also make an impact as a leader.
No, you got me searching for my mute button. So, in this, we were talking prior to we were going on live that, the dynamics have changed, the environments have changed, career services. Looking at where you are now and what you how you've come up and where you sit at the institution now, where do you see us going? Like career fairs are different, employer relations is 10 times different. where do you see, and I say ours, where do you see that career service role on campus beyond just we get students jobs and there's internships, or here's like, what does that look like at the university of the future? What does it look like? Where do you see our profession going, and what are some things that people that are getting it now are going to need to do to be successful, you think?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think is really coming rapidly is we will exist in different spaces, right? More significant spaces than we've existed before. So on most of our campuses, our career offices tend to be a little bit siloed. Some stakeholders contact us when they need information for the U.S. News and World Report rankings. That's the one time a year you hear from them. Or somebody's emailed the president about, oh, I'm trying to fill this position. And, you get that from the president and act on it quickly. We're now at the table when we're talking about retention, right? So we have a university retention working group here, and our director sits on that group. Classroom, another big one. I know some institutions have been way ahead of the curve in making sure that career services are integrated into the academic framework, but there's still a lot of us who haven't. So I think that's next. And not only being a part of the academic framework, but being a requirement. That's something that we're working on here. So I think the biggest thing is that I think career services will sit at the big boy, big girl table now, right? We're no longer going to be that office that, oh yeah, down that hallway, down the stairs, and then underneath the basement, there's the career center, right? So definitely more visibility and sitting at the tables where some really important decisions are being made. And probably more importantly, being a part of the enrollment recruiting process, right? We've been talking about return on investment for the last, I don't know how long now. But how many career centers are front and center during open house? How many career centers actually get a visit when they're doing a campus tour? Right? How many career centers have this upfront presence on your campus webpage? Not too many. And I think that we're shifting towards the career center being one of the more marketable pieces to not only recruit students, but to also keep alumni engaged post-graduation. So those are just some of the thoughts that I have on it and some of the things that I see happening here at Stockton specifically.
So I think I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm going to let Bob ask the ball dropping one that we always do at the end of the show. But, we're not even call it what it is. I'm a black male, and we don't see a lot of black males in career services. I'm even enjoying groups. I think Jeffrey Alston. Out. So the world is so small. Like I don't even meet, I haven't even met you before, but I know Jeffrey through the frat, and the world is so small. So can you talk about like just that? Where do you see, I guess, more black males being involved in this space? Or how have you seen it change over time? Or I don't just your instincts, not instincts, but your experience as a black male in this field. How's it changed or grown or whatever? Just touch upon that, for instance.
Yeah, I've seen one thing that I've seen is that establishing these networks is really important. So you bring up Jeff Austin, the many of us in here know Dr. Austin. We actually formed that group at EACE in Vegas. We did a presentation together. He, myself, and Dr. Trey Lewis, who I think Trey's at Virginia Tech now, and I forget the other gentleman that presented with us, but we did a panel presentation, and that's one of the things that we talked about between sessions is where is our place in the landscape in this particular field, because you're right, we don't see that many people. I think as the networks start to expand and students come into the office and see us, then you'll start to see more of an interest in it. But I haven't really seen it grow like I would think it would have grown by now. In some sectors, you don't even see many male directors, to be quite honest with you. So I think we still have a long way to go there, but I see it getting better. And again, the formation of, like the LinkedIn group that we have, those types of things will help.
No, thank you for that. And then, shout out to Jeff. I mean, I know he's gone on to other things, but shout out to Jeff. I mean, it's And I think it's so important too when you talk about that network and seeing people like yourself, knowing that, hey, someone's there and I can look to someone that is that support. And I can tell you just a quick anecdote. I missed lunch that day in Vegas because they had one elevator up and we went up to your presentation and then we were not getting down because there was just so many people jammed in the elevator. So I know that Paris was not pleased that the crew ran through the entire, so we were like waiting there, like, well, how long is that elevator? It's gonna be like, it's 45 minutes. Everyone at the conference is up on this floor right now. So kudos to you in that presentation. I'm going to ask one question, but this is a real unique opportunity for Philip and I, someone we both very much look up to, really appreciate what you've done for people like us to make sure that we have those opportunities. So I'm going to ask you a question that I probably should have asked you when I first started working with you 12 years ago or so now. If you could tell 25-year-old Walter anything right now, what would it be and why?
I would tell 25-year-old Walter to be more engaged in taking advantage of opportunities, and probably to be a little bit more open. And what I mean by that is I thought I kind of had things planned out, like this is my direction. And again, this is probably a different story, different day. At 25, I was actually just finishing up undergrad, believe it or not. So that's a whole, like I said, whole nother story. So my life had not gone, to where I thought it would be at that point. But I think that you have to connect with people, and it's okay to ask people questions, right? I'm an only child. Some of you know that, some may not, but I'm an only child. So I always feel like, I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out myself. But networking, I mean, can't tell you how significant that is. And I think if I had done that earlier in my life, being more open to things, being more open to the advice that people gave me, knowing that I don't have to do something just because somebody imparts some knowledge, but to kind of take it and add it to, what I know. I think that would have probably made things easier for me. I don't regret my path at all. A lot of people say, I would have done this and I would have done that. I think that I'm a stronger person and probably a more complete human being because of that path. I think that there's no success without adversity. And to be able to get through adversity, especially when you're younger, makes anything you face afterwards that much easier to deal with. So those are some of the things that I think I would tell a younger Walter, and probably be a little bit more serious about things, about life. My mom used to always tell me, I used to be worried about you because you just didn't seem to be like that gung-ho about anything. But I used to be really quiet, and really when I'm not, around you guys in the Eastern EACE crew, I'm an introvert. At the end of the workday, my commute, I'm exhausted and I have to get back into my shell. Working in higher ed, there's a lot more introverts than you think. And we expend a lot of energy during the day. So, those are some of the things that I think I would reflect on with 25-year-old me.
That's great. I thought you were going to say something like I would invest in Bitcoin or something, be rich. Or Amazon, like invest in money.
I'm a late adopter, Phil. I'm a late adopter for everything. Everybody's rocking CDs. I still got cassette tapes back in the
day. Oh my goodness. Converter, like things called, you probably still use Napster.
Hey, don't knock it.
So this is your opportunity. We want to end this, before we do some ending announcements, but Walter, it's been a great join us. I mean, we just want to give you an opportunity to show some love. Any shout outs or anyone you want to talk about, let us know. And I know you probably can fill up like
don't I'm letting you know, don't forget anyone, because people have lists. Like last time someone forgot someone, people next, so don't forget anyone.
I know I'm gonna forget people. Think about it. I'm
saying, like, there's a lot of people out there, so I'm not sure if you need to go on the Facebook group right now and just read the names, or
you can just do a blanketed statement.
I'm gonna give a blanket and some specials. Okay. So certainly, all of the past presidents. I could start running down your names, but I'm not going to do that. All the past Eastern EACE presidents. Special shout out to Junior Delgado, Carrie Ware Lido, Helen Brown, Jennifer Barr, A.D. Alberts, My vendors, Jake Burke, Val Mata, man, the list goes, there's so many people. The list goes on and on. I mentioned some people that, used to be involved back in the day, Terry Moore, Camille Franklin. I know I'm forgetting a ton of people. Noah Simon, Stacy, was on the board with me. Man, there's so many people. Anybody I've ever worked with, just thank you for allowing me to walk the same path as you and to share the same space as you. I've taken something from every interaction and every opportunity I've had within the organization. And if I did forget you and I did not say you by name, please do not feel slighted. All of you have been very important and instrumental to me, not only professionally, but certainly personally. So, and I know I probably forgot somebody big, but they'll probably text me or something about it. So I'm prepared. G-Tang. Jill Milan. How could I forget Jill, my dance partner?
There you go. You got out of trouble. Keep on going.
There you go.
And if they come back, you can watch this later and just answer and add more people in the comments afterwards. So thank you so much, Walt. We're gonna end off and drop off. We'll do some last minute announcements. But thank you so much.
Scott Rappaport.
There you go. That was.
Robin Beauchamp, Craig Single.
There we go. All right, let me jump. So thank you so much. That was a wonderful episode. We really don't have any announcements about the next conversation. This is our last Eastern ACE conversation with Bob and Phil. And I just want to take, maybe 2 minutes to say how grateful Bob and I were for this opportunity to connect with the past leaders. All our guests, Marva, Jill, Allie, Jake, Randy, Jennifer, Rossi Long, Jocelyn Carter. I'm not going to forget Val and Walter, right? I got everybody.
Man, I see you working. That's amazing.
I had to count, but we want to thank and Junior Delgado.
And Junior, President-elect Junior Delgado.
President-elect Junior. But I wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been great. You should be able to watch all the old episodes if you missed them, but they're just a great way to connect and learn. I've actually learned so much. I actually watched some of these over again and learned so much about Eastern ACE, but also the individual career journeys of our guests. That is really actually inspired me to let me know that those thoughts of imposter syndrome or those thoughts of not being sure, other people that I've looked up to have felt that as well. So this has been a great series. So please, take the moment to go back and listen to them. But thank you so much, Bob. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, can't thank you enough, Philip. I mean, this is Philip's brainchild. Philip is on the ones and twos and doing all the work behind the scenes. So kudos to you. Kudos to everyone at Eastern ACE. President Jill Milan and Jen Rossi Long and others for making this happen. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to just absolute titans in the industry and get that out. But really kudos to Philip. Hopefully we'll see all of you in Atlantic City this year in person. Can't wait to see all of you again and look for opportunities to get involved. I mean, just get caught trying in the organization. There are so many great people. And we are so thankful. We're thankful to our squad. Shout out to the squad right there. I see you, Whitney. But again, wouldn't be possible without all of you, but really wouldn't be possible without the amazing work of Philip Wilkerson. So Philip, thank you, man. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you, Eastern ACE, and we're out.